Are you a really good person in business management, in people management? And if you're not, please go learn. I've had to learn accounts. I hate it, but I've had to learn it because you can make so much money and also spend so much money and end up without money,
Looking back at your journey, which milestone do you think stretched you the most?
I can say starting the farm as a whole. People don't talk about the non-glamorous side of life and of business. Social media kind of lies to us a lot. Everything is good and are we looking good? We're traveling. I mean, sometimes you do take the vacation and stuff, but no one tells you about the late nights. No one tells you about the uncertainties. No one tells you about the things you don't prepare for. Us as lawyers, we're trained to be good lawyers. I'm a good lawyer. Whenever I enter a room, I never think the other person is better than me.
Hello and welcome to Legal Insights with Mokua. This episode is sponsored by Onceom AI, and in this episode I'm joined by the managing partner at Gillian, Neky and Company Advocates, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. So welcome, Gillian.
Thank you, Mokua. I'm Gillian Neky, the managing partner at Gillian, Neky and Company Advocates. I also lead the Deals and Transactions Department. And I am ordinarily day-to-day a commercial and technology lawyer practicing in Nairobi, but with a wide access to the whole African market.
Yeah. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you for joining us, Gillian.
Thank you as well for having me here.
What inspired you to enter into the legal space to become an advocate in the first place?
Me entering into law was somewhat personal, attributed by a personal experience. My mom had a case in court for quite some time. And in a way, I got to understand how the law or perhaps legal systems can shape or affect lives, because you could see it live, And then I think it was just a matter of curiosity as well. And just like any other young person, we grew up watching a lot of legal dramas, so you could see how people could be badass lawyers and stuff like that. So I think my entry into law was a mixture of personal experience and just curiosity. And then I ended up here and I realized it's literally at the center of how we run and shape our lives, because law has intersection with politics, business, technology. And I was like, I think I found my path.
Okay, that's amazing. It's true. Law is literally like the backbone of everything. Even sometimes when I'm reading, I'm like, I think everyone should be knowing.
A lot of people want to do law just because you go do a computer science course and then you end up in a family dispute or a divorce and then you're in court so long, you're like, I think I should just know a thing or two about it. So it's really at the center of how we run our lives. And I think I found my path there.
Okay.
Really at the intersection.
And right now you're the managing partner at your own firm. Yeah. What inspired you to start a firm rather than, employment?
Well, starting a law firm, I think this law firm starting was rather organically. It wasn't like I woke up one day wanting to run a law firm. A lot of people ask me, like, what did you plan? Did you look at like finances? I was like, nah, bruh. That didn't happen at all. I think we used to work with some people in a really mid-sized commercial law firm. And what happened was, at that time I was staying with my parents. And I will look at what people are earning, and I'm earning, and I'm like, okay, guys, is this it? For me, deep down, I just felt like this is not it. Like, there's more to life than this. Come on, guys, we're not our parents. So, slowly by slowly, I was like, the job wasn't, giving me what I wanted. And I quit. So after I quit, I left with a few clients who trusted me with their matters. And so I registered the law firm as a way to handle the clients as I, look for consultancy gig here and there. And true to it, actually, I will get consultancy gigs. I will get contract jobs and advisory work. And I did that for a while. But with the remote jobs and consultancy gigs, they didn't last long. And then the clients just kept coming and we're here.
So was it scary at first?
I think it was scary when you realized you've ended up building something that you cannot go back from. You know, there are days where you're like, oh my God, what's going on here? You know, like, it wasn't supposed to be this serious. But then you can go back to employment, or at least you're like, I've already passed that hurdle. So you just have to, the only way is through it. So you just have to stick through it. So yeah, there are those days for sure, definitely. But I don't regret it, because one thing is, when I look with my peers, when I look around with my peers, and even when we have these conversations, a lot of them want to get out of employment. A lot of them want to start their own practice. But the way it is I left at a good time. I left when I didn't have bills of my own. As I said, I was still staying with my parents, so it was easy. It was an easy transition to set up. Right now, you find people who have kids or they have their own bills, so getting out of employment is a bit difficult. Yeah, so honestly, I don't regret that decision, and I'm glad we're where we are.
Okay, and I can see your farm is growing. You know, I
Yeah.
saw you even ranked the runners-up lawyer, first runners-up lawyer. How was that experience?
The one for the Nairobi Legal Trust Award. So Nairobi Legal Trust Award was an amazing experience. I can't say extraordinary, especially for a young firm like ours. The notion we had for a long time was that this was kind of a big law territory. And I had watched the awards for, I think, the previous year, and you will see the farms that were there, and you're like, okay, these are farms who know what they're doing right. But anyway, we just tried it. I think for us, the motto in the farm is always why not. With everything, it's always why not. And that's also my principle in life. When you ask me something, I'm like, why not? As long as it makes sense, you know. So we made the application, and the good thing about it, it's a merit-based system. It's a merit-based award system. And then having your own peers rank you, having your own peers look at your work and tell you, we saw what you're doing, keep up, you know, keep doing the good job. It's validating. It's motivating. You know, there's one thing when a client tells you good work, and then your own peers, people who've been in the industry for 10, 15 years, tell you, we saw what you did, we were deliberating, and you know, keep going and keep doing what you're doing. That was motivating and validating, and it was just like a boom, you know, like an additional energy or boost into our motivation and our oomph to work harder. Yeah.
Okay, that's congratulations.
Thank
by
you.
the way.
We're coming this year for, I mean, this year we want to compete again this year. So that, again, we are challenged to do things better, you know. And yeah, so that's of course is in the works as well.
Okay, and looking back at your journey, which milestone do you think stretched you the most? Like, which one did you, you know, let's say like right now you decided to just apply.
Yeah.
Which one do you think was like really a big risk, but it was worth it?
I can say starting the farm as a whole. People don't talk about the non-glamorous side of life and of business. Social media kind of lies to us a lot. You know, everything is good and are we looking good? We're traveling. I mean, sometimes you do take the vacation and stuff, but no one tells you about the late nights. No one tells you about the uncertainties. No one tells you about the things you don't prepare for. Us as lawyers, we're trained to be good lawyers. I'm a good lawyer. Whenever I enter a room, I never think the other person is better than me. I mean, I'm very pretty confident. But there are other things that you kind of are not taught in school, in law school. So management, managing people, managing finances, also managing suppliers. There's human resource, there's sales, there's strategy, there's a whole lot that goes to run a business. It's not just about getting a client and doing legal work. I was talking to, I can say, a mentor recently, and they were saying how they were comparing themselves. They are 20 plus years in practice, and they're comparing themselves to people, their peer group, and they were saying how they were hosting the lawyer in their office before he grew. And he was like, you know, us, we are just lawyers. That's why we've stayed here, because they just run a law firm, basically. But the person they were comparing themselves against, who was a bit a few years below them, what happened is came, took a space in their office and grew and surpassed them. And he was like, because this is a person who understands business. This is a business person, not just a lawyer. So those are things that you also need to ask yourself when you start your practice and your business is, are you a really good person in business management, in people management? And if you're not, please go learn. I've had to learn accounts. I hate it, but have had to learn it because you can make so much money and also spend so much money and end up without money, you know. So I think that stretches you because no one prepares you for that. And then, as I said, you can't go back. The only way is through. So that kind of stretched me for sure. But I think I'm at a position where I stopped looking at it as though things are happening to us or we are surviving or we are young people. And I took a different approach and said, this is a foundational season. I have to understand these concepts to go to the next stage. So if it's finances, we're going to figure out the money. If it's sales and strategy, we're going to have to figure out how to do that. We just have to figure it out. The same thing with growth. You just have to keep growing. Like growth, the only way you grow is by learning. So I took it as more of a positive challenge than something that is happening to me. And I think that helps with the coping. That helps with, also how you approach life and how you approach things, for sure.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Me, what I usually tell myself is like, even the big firms, they started somewhere.
For sure.
The industry giants that we see, they started somewhere. They also started when they didn't know. Nobody was born like knowing everything.
True.
And they figured it out. So if they can do it, then I can do it too. So,
I think also maybe just before is to add is that we are at a position, and I strongly believe this. Maybe I can be misquoted, but I really do believe this, where you see a law firm like Oraro took 30 years to build. We are at an era where you can get to the same level without taking 30 years. You can do that in 5 or 10 if you really just use the tools we have. Because look at our parents, or look at our grandparents, for example. They never used to maybe have hot shower. They used to use firewood or stuff like that. We've gone to the place where we have washing machines in our houses and we don't need to have someone come and wash your clothes every day. So life is I don't want to say life is easier because the economy is also can be harsh, but the tools that are there, we've invented tools to make the work easier. And so if you embody that, we don't have to take that long to make it. And when you start thinking of things like that, oh, trust me, you will enjoy what you do. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I saw from your LinkedIn that you've positioned yourself at the intersection of law and technology.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do that?
Oh, that's interesting. Have I positioned myself? I think I found myself here. Oh, okay. I think how I got into tech, let me just start with how I got into tech. Before I got admitted, I used to work at the ICT Authority. I was part of the Presidential Digital Talent Program. This was a program that was started by the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and it was supposed to empower young people in the tech space. So it didn't really matter which career you were training in. If you were in media, if you were in social sciences like law, we were encouraged to take courses in technology. So I did a course in data science, data analysis. These were courses offered by Microsoft and Google. So at the beginning, of course, we had like, okay, why do I need to know all this stuff, But the more and more we got exposed to it, I saw how tech was shaping industries. I see how tech was for sure the future. Like you could see even the government plans, and by that we were involved in a lot of legislative drafting, the digital services tax, the data protection regulations. We contributed to it, and this was all before I got admitted as being an advocate. So by the time I was going for my pupillage, I had already had experience in one side, and for a long time, I think the likes of litigation and ordinary practice was not very appealing to me. So when I started practicing law and tech, it was like, okay, I think I found my thing, because tech is interesting. Tech is ever evolving, and my curiosity is just always appears. Like there's no day I go to the office and I have a bad day, because there's always just something interesting people are building out here. And then there's managing partner of one of these big tech law firms was saying the other day that it's not that everyone wants to get into tech, but you always need to know how you're going to contribute to the technology industry. So you're going to contribute as a developer, as a lawyer. So know your place. So for me, my contribution is I understand technology in a very good way that I can be able to offer you legal services in that space. And I think that's how I just found myself there then.
Okay. And do you think it's going to be a core practice area in the future, or will it just remain like a niche that...
Come on, definitely. How not? I feel like almost every company right now is a tech company. Every company right now is a tech company in one way or the other. You're either using an ERP system that is being provided by a technology provider. How you pay people, you've every company in a way, or every business that is offering goods and services, in one way or another, has employed a form of technology. Unless uko mashinani. So at some point, lawyers are going to have to understand the tech to be able to offer legal services. Sorry, and not just as tech lawyer. I think it's gonna be those things like the Constitution, how in a way we know the rights as enshrined in the Constitution. Think about it like this. I don't know if you've been following the David Mokaya case, the criminal case, the TWIP who was accused of allegedly posting the president's coffin, or a picture of the president's coffin on Twitter. If you watch the proceedings, the lawyers in that case, even in the examination and cross-examination, they have a really good understanding of technology, to the point of they were talking about triangulation, how they were able to get the guy. I mean, how are you going to do criminal law if you don't understand the technology that was used to abduct your client? So it's not something that, I mean, you cannot afford not to understand some things. You'll be faced out. It's that simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need to get a good grasping of...
Understand. It's. I think tech law should not just be like a really niche, cool thing. I mean, ordinarily I'm a commercial lawyer. I usually say I'm a commercial lawyer because I do a lot of stuff in dispute and transactions. It's just that most of the clients, it's like most of the clients within the tech space just find their way to my door because I tend to understand them more. So where we're going the next 10 years with AI, oh God, everyone is going to have to understand it to remain relevant.
Okay, speaking of AI actually in the profession, so how do you balance, professional like ethics, but still incorporating AI to make your work easier? Because, sometimes AI can be...
True. I think I can say we're a fast-forward law firm. I can confidently say I think we're one of the law firms in Kenya that have implemented robust AI frameworks. We are building tools and engine to assist in our work internally. We're not even hiring staff. Like, we have our own engineers building stuff to help with our work. For example, we have a tool we've built for article automation, so to help lawyers automate articles, the whole process, not the entire process, just to make it easier for the lawyers to churn those articles, and commercial relevant news in a timely manner. And how to be able to incorporate AI, the best way I will say is it all goes down to your governance protocols. So, as lawyers, we need to maintain confidentiality of clients. We also need to make sure that we know what is going on. So you'll find that a lot of firms are embodying technology softwares. These softwares they're using could be for case management, could be for contract management. They're being provided by a technology provider for sure. Do you understand what your tech provider is doing? As I said, as we're doing these things internally, but if you're outsourcing this, do you understand that your technology provider could be collecting the data of your clients and using it to train models or to train their agent to be able to serve you better? Do you understand that? Do you know, and do you have governance protocols to even investigate that? So I think, first of all, we need to be very aware of the tools we're using, and then let us not be in hash. You find some law firms are still hash. Your associates are using Gemini and ChatGPT, but you've not come up with a policy or a structure around governing the same. So when something goes wrong, I think the buck still falls with management. So I think governance is very key, confidentiality is very key, and I think just an outward approach of accepting it's here and not like fighting it back, and then putting the structures to make sure that you don't end up in a situation where your client's data is compromised, the confidentiality of a client is compromised, or just the service you're offering is compromised. AI is an enabler. It should not be the other way around. And also the thing about automating everything, I don't think we are at a stage where we need to automate everything. We can automate a couple of things and then increase or what can I say? Maximize the human in the loop. So the human in the loop can be the lawyer. So train your lawyers on how to use these tools, so that they can be able to increase their efficiency. Because again, why do we use, why are we all hyped about AI? It's because of the efficiency and the productivity around it, for sure. So I think that's that on that.
Okay, speaking on data governance, actually, are Kenyan businesses truly taking like data protection seriously? Because, sometimes you can even get unsolicited messages.
Oh, yeah. Nah, it's unfortunate. Kenyan companies are not taking data protection seriously. And it's still unfortunate because I think the approach a lot of companies are taking, and it's across industries, I cannot just pinpoint one industry, is that they're looking at it still as a compliance issue. Data protection is more of a compliance thing. So if I know DPC is not going to come at me or my regulator, so let's say, for example, the health sector, if KMPDU has not put a moratorium that you need to register or something, then I won't do it. You see, CBK had issued one for DCPs and they had to get out the license. So it's like, I just have to do it because the regulator has asked. But it will be, I think I always advise companies to look at data protection and compliance is more of a trust issue, not a compliance issue. Because think about it, there are companies that have built their entire reputation on being trusted. So Signal, Telegram, these are companies that they don't share your data and people go there because it's private and stuff like that. So imagine if you build your company and your governance protocols around the fact that you can trust us as an added selling point to your services. It is a good thing and of course an advantage in the market, as opposed to looking at it as a compliance thing that I have to tick the box off. Yeah.
Okay, and what gaps do you see, when you're advising most companies when it comes to this data protection and governance? What gaps do you see are there, and how can people fill the gaps?
I think it just goes back to my previous point of taking a more hands-on approach, because they just don't care. There are people who just believe the government has your data, so what the hell? And then they're like, I just need a certificate. There's some people you'll tell, we can't just get your certificate. We need to do at least, let us look through your policy. Let us sit down with your employees and have a training. And it's quite funny because you'll tell them, let us do the full compliance for you. They're like, Gillian, no, I just want the certificate. That's it. Can you get it for me or not? Yeah. And then 3-4 months down the line, they're like, I'm being sued by my employee because I posted their picture on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I told you. So you see, if you're always playing catch up, it's quite unfortunate. And those are the things companies, and I understand business is tough. I understand people don't have budgets for these things. But access to information generally, especially legal information, is very accessible right now. Like there are online platforms telling you about data protection policies. If you can't afford a lawyer, at least the best you can do is read. Show some interest. Show some level of, this is your business you're running. You don't want to be sued and then you end up paying 700,000 or $1 million in something that you could have avoided in 1 hour, 2 hours of just reading about it. So they don't take it seriously because either they don't care or, what the hell?
Yeah, but right now I've seen a lot of cases where people are getting sued.
And I love it. I love that the Kenyan people are becoming empowered and also very literate on these issues, because they help now train the industry to adapt. They force businesses to adapt. You see, and it's not just one person I've had told me, Gillian, me, I'm on the radar. If anyone sends me any message, tutakimbia DPC. If Naivas tries to do something, because I'm looking, there are people who are targeting these big companies. They're like, this one, they try, So if you have a population that is, and then Gen Z are also very informed. So if you have such an informed population, the businesses will also have to adapt. And that's a good thing, because now they're forced to learn these things, not because the regulator is pushing them, but also the market is. Yeah, so
okay.
There's hope, and there's business for us.
So you mentioned that you're a commercial lawyer.
Yeah. So
what do you think makes a good commercial lawyer and what makes a great commercial lawyer? What do you think separates?
What makes a good? Okay, I do disputes and transactions. So I usually say I'm a full spectrum, because I will help you with incorporation when you're setting up a company, could be an acquisition or a merger. And then we also do contracts, negotiation, drafting, review. And then there's compliance, so data protection, licensing and regulation, if it's CBK, CMA matters, and even anti-money laundering, so that's the compliance part. And then if you end up to have a dispute in the course of this business transaction, then we'll go to court for you. What makes a good commercial lawyer, and I can say what works for me to this point, because I think the good thing about it, as I was telling my associate recently, is we've not lost a case, so I hope this is not the first one. And so far, what has been working for us is just our level of preparation. You just have to grind it out. You see, it doesn't matter if I get served with 4 folios or 4 bundles of documents for litigation. Trust me, by the time I appear before a judge or a magistrate, I've gone through all those documents. And you might think I'm BSing you, but trust me, I know. We can take out 2 days of our week, just 2 days in a week, to go through all those bundles and understand. There's a dispute we were doing recently where it was a long project. It took 4 years, but we had to sit down for a week with the client to just understand what happened almost every day in those 4 years. So by the time I'm meeting opposing counsel, I don't think they're as prepared as we are, because we understand our clients that well. So preparation, reading, and then the practice of law is very simple. Sorry, it's very simple. There's the procedural laws. You know where to get them. Yeah, there's substantive law. Maybe this is what the Data Protection Act says. This is what the Copyright Act says, right? And then there's the facts. The facts is what your client gives you, what happened. The facts are supported by what? The evidence. So once you understand those 4 things, I don't think you can. All you have to do is now make the argument, and it's easy to make an argument when you understand. So preparation, I say, is key, and I think preparation builds the confidence. So now when I enter a room, it's like, okay, show me what you have. And I've gone up against senior counsels in the profession, and at first it used to look like, what the hell and stuff. But there's one who told me, Gillian, I've realized you don't have anything ingenuous about you. You're a very genuine person. I was like, yeah, I've just come here to represent my client. I know everything. I'm not trying to embarrass you. If you know your shit, we go head to head. May the best man win. And I love it. I can't lie. I enjoy it.
Okay, and you believe money is in the niches, like you've kind of established the tech side. So what would you advise, a young lawyer who's starting to build, authority? Should they choose a niche, or should they just, build as...
I think they can be strategic about it. They can be strategic about it. I can give you tips of how I did it, but it's just a matter of being strategic about it. I believe money is in the niches because at some point you got to be known for something. The legal profession is becoming highly specialized, so you cannot just be know-it-all. I mean, you can be knowledgeable in some areas, like I'm very knowledgeable in construction law. If I decided to focus on it for like 3-4 months and also go out there releasing content or thought leadership content around it, I can be known as an expert because I have done both the transaction side and the litigation side of construction law. But no one knows that. I mean, I don't come out saying that. But I had to do that because as a small law firm, as a young law firm, bills got to be paid. So you kind of put yourself in a lot of things. But when I come out here, there are things that people know me for, which is tech and commercial law. Because, again, that's where my interest is. Those are things that come very natural and easy for me. But it doesn't mean that I can't do jobs here and there to pay bills and stuff. So it's a balance. So get a niche. We've gotten a lot of work from LinkedIn. I get a lot of DMs on LinkedIn, people just saying, hey, I'm coming to Africa. I want to do this and that. Can you help us do this and that? And that's when I say when money is in the niches, people know you for something. I get calls where they're like, Gillian, I saw you do this. And again, always ask yourself, what is the one thing people call you most about? For the longest time, I used to fight this tech thing. I was like, I want to be a litigator. I want to, why you guys boxing me? I used to hate it. But then when I realized, people call me for what? People call me for tech stuff. Data protection, IP, entertainment. People don't call me, until recently, people never used to call me for litigation stuff. And then I think I just honed on to that. Because I was like, okay, you guys are pushing me maybe to the commercial tech side, so let me just own it. And then that's what happened. Not that I couldn't do other things. So when I started building, I can say what, evidence, or I started building like a good amount of work in the other spaces, then you're like, oh, okay, so she also does this. So I can also call her for this because I've seen her doing this. Yeah, and then just time takes its tough. So there's a niche, then building systems. Oh, you fall to the level of your systems. So your systems and structures. There's this quote that I believe, as a business owner, you build people, the people build the system. The system makes money for the business. So the system is what builds the business. So find a way to build systems, and you don't have to do it yourself. You build the people that will build the systems that will bring money into the company. You have to do that because at some point you'll get so overwhelmed, and the cracks will show. And also, how do you scale? You scale by having systems for scalability. So systems, take a niche, be known for something. You gotta do everything at some point, yeah, for the bills, but be known for something. And also just be consistent with it. I think I learned about consistency late last year towards this year, where I was in deal rooms a year ago. And at that time, I was thinking we're going to make a bank. And, deals don't go through sometimes. And then a year later, the client comes back, you're like, oh, so I just had to stay in it for this long. You're like, oh, so it doesn't have to close in a month. It doesn't have to close in 2 weeks. I think when you're young, there's also that pressure of like, I have to make the money today. No, the guy will come back a year later. You're still there doing the same thing, that you were doing a year ago. Ama, did you give up? Did you close shop? So that also matters, consistency.
Okay, yeah, I think the delayed gratification, sometimes it can be hard because you're like, oh, I really need the money like right now. But even 5 years from now, you'll still need the money. So you better just get to it.
Build the systems. Yeah. Build the systems. Diversify. Kama inabidi uende uuze njugu pahali sustain. Me got to a point where my parents actually said, that office, you're not closing it. Because, of course, the income was not sustainable at some point. And they're like, that office, you're not closing it. I was like, I'm tired, this thing isn't making sense. Maybe I should go back to employment. They're like, no. That is your bread, your livelihood. So you gotta stick through it. And I did, and then it gets to a point you're like, okay, now I'm a big girl, no one's coming to save me, yeah? I just gotta do this.
Okay.
And I think perspective is very, very important. But how you view life is very important. If you read like things are happening to you and things are crazy, that's what is happening to you. If you think like, I'm in a good mood and things things will be nice. So I think perspective is also very important.
So as we conclude, what advice would you give someone who's just starting out? Maybe they're thinking about starting a law firm, or they just want to grow in their profession. So what are the 3 things you'll tell them?
Wow, what advice? I will say capitalize on the tools you have. Capitalize on the tools you have. As I say, we are a very lucky generation. You cannot compare us to our parents. There are tools we have that they didn't have access to. I'm not saying things are easy. Just capitalize on the tools you have. That is AI, media, capitalize on it and see how you can grow yourself. Build your skills, for sure. And also be strategic. So if you're still in employment, be very, very strategic and know your skills. There are some people who are good business people who can go out there and close a deal. Then maybe you can start your own farm, give yourself maybe 2 to 3 months rent, and you'll survive. There are people who are not good orators or good speakers, but they are very good drafters. So again, can you partner with someone? Can you work with someone? What is your value? Understand your value, present it well. I think as lawyers, it's just, we really need to work on how we present and position ourselves. So yeah, I think that's for sure. And then I also just be commercially relevant. Law does not work in isolation. Law is at the center or at the intersection of a lot of things. So understand your clients, understand politics, understand business, understand tech, understand the market you're in. So have a good understanding of where you operate. It will really, really, really help. there are clients I've gotten just from having good conversations. I didn't even think they were clients. I was just vibing, being myself, saying something about the industry they're in. Tours and travel, for example, and talking and maybe giving them options of what I'm seeing. People are using perhaps stable coins to move money in tours and travel. And I'm like, that's interesting. They're like, oh, okay. And then it becomes an interesting conversation and be like, okay, we should schedule a meeting, a talk. The next thing you have a client, then you have an European company. I mean, yeah, if I was to detail how some of the things that happens in the office, it's just, we really just, I think when we love what we do, so love what you do and hone in, there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. Yeah. So the lawyer who's watching this, if you want to quit, be very strategic about it. If you want to start your own firm and you don't have good practice, surround yourself with people who know what they're doing. Have a good circle of mentorship or peers who can help you, hold your hand. And holding your hand means, you see, you're a lawyer, and if there's a way, you won't charge me if I ask you to draft something, right? Because there's a time also you will require me to help you. So help each other. I mean, collaborate, yeah. Then I'm sure it works out. It works out in the end.
Okay, yeah. Kidogo kidogo, haba na haba.
Haba na haba,
Hujaza
ujuza kibaba. Yeah.
Okay, so that has been it for our conversation. I hope you've learned a lot from Gillian. I know I have. You just be consistent, just step out in faith, and you never know the things that can come your way. So, but you also have to be strategic. You don't just step out anyhow.
Yeah.
So I hope it has been an insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Gillian.
Thank you as well for having me.
Yeah, and that is it for today. So make sure you subscribe, share, and like, and comment what you've learned from this and what else you would like to see in future episodes.